the accessibility and availability of relevant data for decision-making and planning purposes. That is the meaning of data availability. For example, and one thing, data is everywhere around us, right? If, let's say, after this particular session and the management of this organization want to make an important decision, if they should keep on having this speaker series or not, what they are going to depend upon is the data. How many participants did we have? How many people we are active? How many were engaged? How many questions did we get? That is data. Data is everywhere around us. Even time, for example, we start looking at what time did people show up for the webinar. That is still data, right? So sometimes they use data to feel as if it's one thing too scientific, one thing too difficult. No, data is everywhere around you. You have data as an individual, right? Good. The second thing I want us to look at is development plan. And if you're somebody who reads a lot and somebody who tries to understand where the world is going to, you understand that from countries to organizations, people, and even individuals would like to have a plan. Countries, Cameroon is talking about the 2035 emerging plan, right? When you look at the African Union, they're talking about the Agenda 2063. When you look at companies, we do develop strategic plans for companies, 3-year plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans. As an individual, you can have a 10-year plan for yourself, a 5-year career plan for yourself, a financial plan for yourself. To bring it so that we understand the meaning of this. It's a plan, a development plan is a strategic framework that outlines the core goals, the objectives, and the actions to promote socioeconomic progress of the continent. So, what is the role of data in helping us achieve this? How can we be able to make this work? And the importance of data availability for development planning in Africa is very critical. I always say that, you don't build something incredible from the place of guesswork. Guesswork has never done something amazing. And the only way that you can eliminate guesswork from your development process is for you to have data. Even as an individual, you are not going to succeed, have a good career, have a good business by assuming things, by guessworking. No, you need the right data and the right information to make proper decision making, right? And of the many importance of data availability for development planning in Africa, number one is it enables policymakers. When we talk about policymakers, these could be presidents, ministers, directors, parliamentarians, senators. It helps all these people to practice evidence-based decision making. Again, in the journey of development, assumption and guesswork and making decisions because of how you feel doesn't make sense. It is evidence-based decision making that creates development. And this can only happen when data is available. Number two is it enables governments to practice targeted resource allocation. Don't just sit and feel like, oh, I think that the Northwest made this amount of money. I think that the Southwest, I think that this province, this region needs this. No. When you use the right data, you can begin to target the areas that need that money because of what you have experienced in that area. Number three is it enables you to monitor progress and evaluate the impact. Without data, you cannot monitor the progress. I always like to ask my partners and my clients the questions, how will you know you are succeeding? How will you know that you are succeeding? Even as an individual, how do you know that you're succeeding? You only know that you're succeeding if, let's say, financial success. If 2 years ago, your monthly income used to be $1,000, and now this year, your monthly income is now $2,000. What you are using to measure that progress is data, is the numbers that you have available. So Africa is only going to progress. Africa is only going to evaluate the impact of their decisions, the impact of their policies, when there is available data to monitor the progress of every single project that has ever been implemented. And if that data is not available, we don't know whether the projects implemented are taking us forward or not. Let me give two examples on the role of data in evidence-based decision making. This is very important because this is the core of data availability. The core, like they say, leadership is all about decision making. If you mention any president that is a good president, at the core of their presidency is the quality of their decision making. If you talk to any chief executive officer of a company, at the core of their leadership is decision making. So two examples on the role of data in evidence-based decision making. Number one, addressing poverty and inequality. How do you know that a nation is full of poor people? How do you know whether we have the upper class, middle class, and lower class? How do you know that people in the rural areas are poorer than people in the urban centers? How do you know that in the urban centers, although it's busy enough, the standard of living is crazy, there's inequality? Data helps identify these things. Data helps identify areas with high poverty rates and inequality, enabling policymakers to target intervention. The key word here is target intervention. You cannot practice target intervention as a leader, as a policymaker without data. So with the right data availability, it is easy for nations and cities to address poverty and inequality. Number two is supporting education planning and resource allocation. For example, like in our beautiful country, Cameroon, for those who are Cameroonians following this, the government tries to build schools in different locations, different villages, and all of that. So sometimes I wonder, what does the government really consider before building a government school in a particular city or in a particular village? And when data is available, when the government knows that, oh, in this particular village, there are 10,000 people, and in these 10,000 people, there are 2,000 young people when it comes to who can go to school. And maybe their policy states that any locality with 2,000 school-going kids, they should have a school, right? So this enables and supports decisions like that. So it supports education planning and resource allocation. Without data being available, governments, Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Secondary Education, Ministry of Basic Education, Ministry of Vocational Training, all of these ministries that are working across education, they will not be able to make proper decisions. So from data on enrollment rates, literacy levels, student performance, all of this helps policymakers to allocate resources. Now, I would like us to look at two key things. The average current situation on data in Africa. I'm a bit fast because our time is small, okay? But just follow me carefully. The average current situation on data in Africa, this is very important to understand. And number one is, according to Elsevier, in an article published by Dr. Sharon Mohammed Lucia in 2018, they stated that data generates Africa generates less than 1% of the world's research. Data analytics can change that. That means we generate very little data. And that's why if you look at, the way that Africa as a continent and the way various leaders make decisions and the way various companies make decisions, you see that we don't have enough data. I don't know about you, but I have once gone to the National Institute of Statistics in Cameroon to get information, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed at the kind of data that they have access to, old archaic data, right? So data is not, the availability is questionable. I always like to bring another example. I'm sure many of us in this call right now, in this session right now, many of us are have gone through HND degree and master's degree. Let me ask a simple question. Most of you did your end of year, end of program projects and all of that, how many of you have your report, have your thesis on a public platform where another person can consult and read? You see, there are many universities graduating students, and these students get to do research for end of program report and thesis and all of that. But these things are not available on the internet where people can begin to consume. That data is not available. We don't generate that particular data, right? The second situation is from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, where they are saying that although 1/5 of the world's population lives in Africa, the continent is by far, listen to this, is by far the least documented region, in terms of data and information on crime and drugs. And when you look at every other stuff, you discover this challenge. And the host mute that person. Thank you. So many African governments are unable to supply information on the situation of drugs and crime in their country, including information requested by international drug and crime control treaties, right? So, and even where figures are available, very often due to limited capacities and resources of national authorities, they do not reflect the actual scale and extent of the problem. And this is the situation across many sectors. Now, what are the current data challenges in Africa as we round up? Number one, insufficient data collection and management system. This is one of our biggest problems. Insufficient data collection and management system. I just gave an example here. Many of us are from have gone through university programs. But the research that we did when we were writing our projects and all of that, it is nowhere in any public system where people can actually research. For example, how many universities across Africa have an online database where all students can go and submit their data and their research? It's not there, and that's a challenge for us. But this data we can use and make decisions, right? Limited access to accurate and up-to-date data. If you have somebody, if you have tried, for example, I'm into business consulting. So it means that I get to write a lot of documents and strategies and all of that and help companies make decisions. When you start searching for some kind of data that you can help make a strategic business decision, sometimes you don't get it. Many a time you try to use very limited sample size to make a very important decision. And that is risky for business. Right? So limited access to accurate and up-to-date data. Not data that is 10 years old, 5 years old, not data in 2023. It becomes a big challenge, right? Data fragmentation and lack of interoperability. Now, I'm going to talk about this deeply because this is a big problem for Africa. Now, what does this mean in terms of what we are talking about? Why is this critical? Because data fragmentation and the lack of interoperability is a very big challenge for using data to actually make informed decisions as far as business is concerned, right? Data fragmentation means that data is stored in different places instead of being kept together in one location. Right? This is a very big problem in Africa. Let me give you a typical example. I have done a lot of work in the microfinance sector, for example. Now, do you know that in Cameroon, and like many other African countries, one person can take a loan in 4 microfinance institutions? Because these microfinances, they don't have one database. So if I come and create my account in a particular microfinance, I get the loan and I'm not able to pay, and since I cannot come back to you, I'll go to another microfinance and get a loan. And if I cannot pay there, I go to another microfinance and get a loan. This is the negative effect of data fragmentation. Let me give you another example. Another example is our education system. Why can't all our state universities have one database to manage all students that graduated from state universities? It will enable decision-making to be very, very easy. Data fragmentation. If you can look at all of these sectors, and that's why we have a lot of crime, high crime rates, and cheating, and corruption, and bad governance. Let's look at the double sales of land. I'm sure we have heard people, or even you yourself, listen to me, you bought a land, and then the next 2 days, somebody is saying, I bought that land 2 weeks ago. Why can't the Ministry of Land Tenure have a database where they can manage all of this? Once you buy a land, you can go and search and know whether this land is legit and who owns it. You see, data fragmentation. So this makes it difficult for people to make informed decisions that can move Africa forward. If an investor wants to come to invest in real estate, it becomes a challenge. An investor wants to come and invest in the banking and microfinance sector, it becomes a challenge because there are no infrastructure. There is no structure there to promote this. The next that I want to talk about is lack of interoperability. Means that the different systems and programs cannot easily work together to understand each other. So this gap is very, very important. For example, as I was talking about microfinance, if you go to mini microfinance system, you see that each microfinance have a separate software that they are using. That is the lack of interoperability there. You see, they cannot work together. Unlike, for example, when you go to the US, you go to Canada, to go to some European countries, sometimes just your phone number, when you put your phone number in a system in the US, it brings everything you have ever done everywhere, right? So that promotes, how do they call this? That promotes a lot of governance, proper planning, and growth of their economy. Now, key benefits of data availability for the development of Africa, and we can chat on questions and contributions. Number one, I said this earlier already in one way or another, facilitating informed policy decisions. I'm one of those who strongly believe that Africa is as backward and struggling as it is because our policymakers, our presidents, our ministers, they make decisions from the place of I feel, I think, I am connected to this village and to this person. You will never grow a continent like that. We need to start making informed policy decisions. We need to start having proper research and development departments in all ministries that can enable this to begin to happen. Number two is when data is available, it helps to identify development priorities. The government does not invest money based on guesswork or based on just political ambitions. No, the government begins to invest money based on what is really, really happening on ground. Don't take billions and go put in one institution just because you feel that that is important. Meanwhile, when you begin to look at data and what the citizens are going through, you will notice that the greatest need of the citizens now is good health care, or is proper secondary school education, or is proper university training. So the only way that government can identify the right priorities and monitor progress the right way is for data to be available. And it's for them to invest and make that happen. And of course, attracting investment and aid. Data helps do this. A good part of my work is into investment analysis and working with people in the diaspora that want to penetrate Africa. And one of our biggest challenges is always data is not available. Data is not available. How do we know this? How do we know that? How do we estimate on this? It becomes a challenge. And nobody, let me tell you something, billionaires don't do guesswork. There's no rich person I've ever started putting some of guesswork. Those guys don't like guesswork. Those guys, like they take risk, yes, but they take what is called calculated, informed risk. They take risk that, look, even if I fail doing this, I will learn something that I can use in my next business deal. But when the data is not available at all, they don't like guesswork. They don't like doing things on the place of feelings. That's why they stay rich, because feelings will make you go broke. People that spend money from how they feel will always end up poor, right? So spend money from data, spend money from what is right, not from how you feel or not from your emotions. So when data is available, this helps a lot. Next, enhances accountability and transparency. We know that one of the biggest issues in Cameroon, in Africa in general, is bribery and corruption. Guys can steal money. Guys can crazily steal money like mad, right? And since the systems are not there that can lead to the acquisition of data, management of data, and monitor progress and evaluate, this is why these guys don't steal carelessly. They can do whatever they want and go with it because the structure is not there that can track them or hold them accountable and lead to transparency, right? Good. So when data is available, that becomes the challenge. So what should we be doing across Africa when it comes to data? What should we be doing? These are my thoughts. I hope that you will share your own thoughts with me. What should we be doing across Africa when it comes to data? Number one, establish a robust data collection mechanism. And this is not just about the government. This is about you and I sitting here right now.
All the stakeholders, indeed.
It's about the Afro-Skill organization. Right now, these people come here, this data, how are you collecting that data? How are you managing it? How are you keeping it safe? We need to establish it and begin to have that available. Number two, we need to improve data quality and standardization. Not just collecting data, but this data should be good data, should be data that somebody can use and make informed decisions. That's why there's a lot of growth now on data analysts, right? Standardized data. Let that data be structured in a way somebody can enjoy using it. Number three is promoting data sharing among relevant stakeholders. I was talking about giving examples of credit unions, microfinance. One person will take loans from 5 credit unions. Why? They don't share data. They are partners, they are stakeholders in the same industry. Education, healthcare, they need to start finding a structured way that they can share data, and they're going to move Africa forward. Next, develop open data initiatives. People work together to make sure the information is easy to find and to use. Let me give you a personal example. All of you that you have gone through HND, you have gone through degree and masters, and most PhD people always have their data online and work online. Even HND, degree, masters, and your end of school report, end of school project is not on the internet where somebody can also read what you found when you are doing your stuff. You are not practicing open data initiative. Charity begins at home. Go and publish your work where somebody can read. I always say that you cannot claim that you're a professional when your research cannot contribute to another person's research. So go and do that. Go and start practicing data open initiatives. It's going to help a lot. Next, investing in technological infrastructure for data dissemination. Start building databases, online platforms where we can come and search stuff here and there, right? And of course, investing in data analytics tools and expertise. Start training yourself on data analytics and buy tools. Google Analytics, learn some of these online platforms that can analyze data. Is going to help you a lot. Enhance data literacy and skills among decision makers. What Afro Skills is holding right now can fall under data literacy, because through this session, we are learning one or two things. So we need to have more of these sessions in different organizations and encourage people, students, professionals, to know how to collect data, keep data, and open data for other people to consume that particular area. Engage the private sector for data collection and analysis. Everybody should be involved. Small business, large business, NGO, churches, mosques, Muslims, atheists. As long as you're a human being and you run an institution, we should start teaching them on how to do this. Collaboration and partnership will also play a vital role in this area. Let us collaborate as much as we can to do this. Of course, data laws and governance framework. Data is treated respectfully and used responsibly. There's a new data law that was just launched in Cameroon, I think 2 days ago, announced 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. The data laws and governance frameworks should be released so that data is managed and protected well, so that people's data always remains safe as far as that is concerned. In conclusion, with the right data, policymakers across the continent will be able to make data-driven investments that build a bright future for the people across the region. We cannot build a bright future for our people from the place of guesswork and assumption. And you yourself, you cannot build a bright future for yourself from the place of guesswork. You need to make sure you find the right data and make the right decisions. Thank you so much. I know I'm in a haste, but I hope you got a few things that you can act upon as you build your life as a professional and, of course, as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much. Cheers.
And of course, I should be saying thank you to you, Dr. Joybert, for the explicit talk on the data availability, which you actually added the word accessibility. How available is data and how accessible is data to all the stakeholders? You quite mentioned a very important element, the investors. An investor will not want to invest where he or she is not aware if, of course, the resources will actually go to meet the set objective. And of course, you made mention about AfroSkills. If AfroSkills is bringing together this platform today, we are on the platform, the Distinguished Speakers Series, is because we have discovered, or AfroSkills has discovered through data collection, that there is a lapse, or there are some weaknesses that needs, of course, to be harnessed as far as African development is concerned, as far as charting the right development plan for the continent is concerned. And I think, dear participants, with the great insight from Dr. Joybert, you must have understood the objectives of this webinar, which is centered on understanding the place of data in developing or in charting a clear development plan for Africa, where he actually highlighted, of course, how data availability can improve and, of course, bring about the strategies which are effective in promoting data availability, how we can, of course, make data available and also ensure that data that is available to the general public should be protected. And of course, like I said, it is not a monologue. You have the opportunity as participants to direct your questions to Dr. Joybert regarding his presentation. And I think we still have about 10 minutes to be together before he leaves. Like I said, the program won't be running for 1 hour 30 minutes because of some unforeseen circumstances. So quickly, we're going to open the floor to all participants who want to share or contribute or even direct a question to Dr. Joybert Javnyuy regarding his presentation on the topic for discussion this day, the place of data in charting a clear development plan for the continent Africa. Thank you so much. And of course, you have the floor. It's a breakout session for all the participants. Any question you can direct to Dr. Joybert Javnyuy as we continue with this program, Distinguished Speaker Series, brought to you by AfroSkills, with the slogan Changing Africa or Transforming Africa with Knowledge. Of course, we've gotten knowledge today on what data is all about and how this data can help every stakeholders, policymakers across the continent Africa, across the global world in wanting to bring to the realization of projects all over. Doctor, I think while waiting for participants to bring in their own questions or contributions, we'll continue to answer this. Yes? Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
Yeah, this is Rita. Sorry, I
Okay,
came
you're
late
welcome.
into the webinar, but I could get some information given out by Dr. Javnyuy. So where I got in, it's really true. He talked about data fragmentation, and I must
Yeah.
confess that my project that I did in at the degree level, bachelor's, is somewhere in my cupboard. It has not been published, so I'm guilty of not practicing open data initiative. Yeah, but now we've been most of the time confronted with ideologies that data is conserved, especially in Cameroon or in most African countries, due to the lack of good technology or internet accessibility. Can we put that as a main reason for the absence of data availability and accessibility? Should we still put that as one of the reasons for the lack of data accessibility, Doctor?
Mm. Thank you. So that's a very smart question. I think that 10 years ago, personally, I would have recommended that, yes, that would have been a challenge. But, something funny now in Cameroon is that almost anybody who can read and write knows that if they're stranded with something, they'll go on Google and search. Is that true? Right? So,
Absolutely, yeah.
even if it means that leaving from the village and coming to the city to search something before going back to the village. I mean, I know many people in my village who still do that today. When they don't have good internet and they want to do something or search something, they'll leave the village, or when they are leaving, go to the town where there's stronger internet, search for it, and then come back to the village. Right? Even years ago, I used to do that. We go to Bamenda, download videos, download books, then go back to Kumu and begin to study and read there. We used to do that. So, we are in the knowledge economy. We are in the knowledge creative contribution economy, and people are searching for knowledge. That's why if you look at the number of daily searches, billions of people search things every day than it used to be 10 years ago. So the point is the data even available where when people can search, they will see it? Because the truth is people are searching. People are searching. So if we practice more of these, we will be able to provide people for what they're searching for. And I'm sure if you go on Google, when you search anything on Google, the first page, even the second page, will be data and information and website about from the US, from Canada, Europe, before African stuff start coming.
Before Africa, sure.
Right? So if we start creating that, and I also talk about illiteracy, for example. There are people that are in Douala, Yaoundé, Lagos, Johannesburg, Nairobi, and these people have the phone, have the internet, and like you said, and they have written their end of year projects, but they don't even know how to get these projects on the internet for free, and others can read. They don't know how they can convert. They can convert their projects and write short articles and publish on free platforms, and people can read how. And many of our students have, good information, things that they move door to door and they ask questions and they fill forms. These are gold mines. As somebody said, data is the new gold, right? I was talking someday a few days ago. I was asking some young entrepreneurs do they know why WhatsApp is free. You didn't know why. WhatsApp decided not to ask people to pay $1 on using WhatsApp because the data they're getting on WhatsApp gives them more money than the money they could have charged you when using WhatsApp. Just the data of knowing how long you stay on your WhatsApp a day. Just the data on how long you use WhatsApp for one day. That data alone, another company can pay for it like $1 billion, right? So these things are everywhere, like our work, we need to put it, even our experiences. We're now in a world where our little experiences, the things that you go to the village on the street and you see, sometimes you just writing a good article and relating it professionally, you give somebody data, this is what happens here in a semi-urban area, in an urban area in Cameroon. So to answer your question clearly, is the issue of people are searching, and some people who have data they have not grown in the way they know how to use the internet properly, because internet penetration is undergrowing. Especially in Africa, Africa is the highest market with the highest rate of internet growth. And it will only be like that for the next 40 years as per the research. Because more people will keep using the internet, more people are coming to, when you look at urbanization, Africa has the highest rate of urbanization. People living in the villages coming to the city, right? And Africa has the highest rate of semi-urban towns. Semi-urban towns that are between small village and small town, right? So Africa has the highest of those towns, and with those towns, there's penetration still going on. And these are opportunities for us in Africa. A lot of opportunities, and that people can begin to pinpoint and take advantage of them.
Thank you very much. So how can you initiate some of us, because like you rightly pointed, some of us are not well educated enough to know how to make this our own data available. So how can we start? Charity begins at home. From here, most of us here probably are having those challenges. How can we start? By making our data available.
Good. One of the solutions I proposed was proper data literacy. Proper data literacy. For example, we have a whole Institute of National Statistics. And there are many Cameroonians that you ask them, this is the first day they are hearing about that institution, right? It's true. Now, one of the things that kind of organization should be doing is educating people on things like that, raising awareness, even on how to look for data and use. Many of our people don't know how to do research.
Yes.
And then how to collect the data. And of course, how to start making their own data that they have available. So awareness by the government bodies themselves through their agency, the National Institute of Statistics. Secondly, Ministry of Higher Education, through their universities and through their directorate, they need to play a role in that area. And of course, civil society organizations and programs and agencies like the Afro-Skill program, they need to take up this more seriously and begin to see how they can do more of these programs that can open the minds of people like this. Is going to promote a lot, right? So even individual basis, if you see that, it's something you're passionate about and you can build a career around this. Of course, you can build a career around your job is you're going to promote data literacy, data availability and accessibility. Create programs, create seminars, create trainings, write for training grants, US Embassy, United Nations, World Bank. These guys have funding around data availability, data protection. Look for them, get the money, come and do the seminars for free and raise up awareness in the market. So these things are available. The point is we are not searching them, or we are not conscious about them, and we are not.
Of course, it's all about awareness or being aware. Of course, hoping your question has been answered, Madame Sonny.
Thank you very much. It has.
Of course, thank you also for bringing that question. Swiftly to you, Dr. Joybert, you listening keenly to the questions directed by Madame Sonny, and of course, bringing us back to what you said about the internet penetration, which is very high across the African continent. And we know Afro skills, of course, we mentioned about the slogan like transforming Africa with knowledge. And of course, I believe that this data, having access to data is having access to knowledge, because when you are aware of what is available, of course, you know how you can use these resources to fast track the development, because a key point here is how this data will help to write or define a clear development plan for the continent Africa. And now bringing us back to the internet era, we know that we are already, I can say, in the fourth industrial revolution, and we see the rate at which things are changing. But now, with this data, which according to you, if used positively, it can help to transform lives, through, of course, you said somebody can build a career by actually promoting data accessibility and, of course, data availability. Let's look at now the abuse of this data, especially in the aspect of cyber criminality. We are here in the capacity of the Africa Distinguished Speaker Series looking at data availability. But when you look at it critically, many young Africans, vibrant Africans who could use this data for self-transformation, instead you discover that the data available to them is being used negatively, and that's why today we are seeing a hike in cyber criminality. So, in your perspective, as upon this, a critical mind, how do you think we can maybe correct this, trying to solve this issue of cyber criminality and crimes across the cyber space related to the accessibility or availability of data to all stakeholders?
Yeah. One of the ways that we can reduce cyber criminality takes us back to awareness and literacy. Let me give you an example. If people just know how to set their passwords the right way, somebody will go and create a good account and set their password as their name and their birthday. Research shows that a hacker can try to hack your password using 18 different formulas. And if a hacker knows your birthday, your two names, your father's names, your mother's names, and basic things about you, there's a high chance that they can hack your account. So teaching people how to set passwords on the internet is part of data literacy. Number two, people don't know how to do two-factor authentication, right? Making sure that you double protect your account on other your bank accounts, your social media accounts, your email addresses. It should, in case somebody hacks your password, let the platform request a code that they will send to your SMS or to your secondary email. These are things that goes back to literacy and education. Number two, sometimes somebody will sit and receive an email that they have won a grant from the World Bank, and it's a fake World Bank email address. And sometimes when they create the website, they'll create the website with worldbank.org. But in that world, you will not see R. So they'll just, in the website, they'll remove R. And if you don't look at it critically, you will not notice that, hey, there's no R in this website. So it's a fake World Bank account. Or people don't know that there are some institutions that they will never send you an email address using public domains like Gmail or Yahoo Mail. But scammers use Gmail and Yahoo Mail, and they send. So these are basic literacy things on data. You see, same as organizations need to start reading data laws, data protection laws by government, and make sure that they align with these data. And individual needs to read them. So what cyber criminality thrives on ignorance. The ignorance of people promotes cyber criminality. My work basically is like full time on the internet, and I've never been scammed. So why should you come on the internet the first time and you're not been there in less than 2 years and you scam? I've used the internet since 2010, per se, right? Yeah. So basically, when you know them, so it goes back to that education, awareness, the right literacy, and all of that. And I always said this, and this is a fact. There will always be bad guys in the society. There will always be bad guys. The bad guys will keep on being there. There's a way we can reduce these bad guys. And, scamming is the baby steps when it comes to cyber criminality. There is hacking, the hacking of US government sites, the hacking of Pentagon, hacking of White House, hacking of Apple. Recently, Microsoft had a little hack. That is the grandfathers of real cyber criminality, right? But in terms of our level and individuals, it exists mostly because we don't have the right information. We don't have the right exposure and the right knowledge. And if we begin to do this, and company founders also begin to educate themselves and their staff, this is going to reduce. And of course, there's something called ethical hacking. There are now ethical cyber criminal experts. Their job is to anticipate where there's going to be a hack or a challenge or a potential scam, and they mitigate it and help the company self-correct and close that loophole so that scammers cannot use. So you see, it all revolves around knowledge. You see, I know this thing. I'm not a tech guy, but I'm forced to know this thing because it's where the world is going to. And the same thing I said to everybody: look, the world is full of online platforms now. There's something called digital transformation. It's good for individuals and organizations. Please, digital skills, online skills, knowing online platforms, and all of these things is no longer a part-time issue. It has become a full-time job. You need to be aware of these things. If not, either it's going to outgrow you and you're going to become unemployed for a very long time, or number two, you run a company because of the internet, your company is going to slow down and will not be able to compete, and your business die out, or you're an employee and your company outgrows you and you no longer have the right skills to work in that company and they sack you. One way or the other, you have two options. Either you are adapting with the change in technology and make good use of it, look at it as water, the food that you eat, or you'll be left behind and remain unemployed, broke and struggling, and you blame leadership. Meanwhile, you're part of the problem, right? Yeah, so it's here with us and we need to adapt.
In data, the world is evolving, and we are elements of the world. We need to evolve with the changes that are occurring in the global world. I think we just round off with the 1 hour. Or are you still available for more questions, Doctor? Then
my time is up.
Yeah, your time is up. It's up. Thank you so much. And I think we all enjoyed the presentation and learned a lot from it. It's very imperative when we talk about data availability. And with your presentation, you have given us more insight on how we can go about using data available to us in various perspectives. Thank you so much, Dr. Joybert. Before you go, I wish to thank you and also say that you are welcome again to AfroSkills platform. This is not the first time you are part of an educative webinar like this, just to remind you that AfroSkills has a whole lot of programs and which will, of course, interest you. Being a business consultant, and I've seen that you have always been very, very concerned with young Africans and transforming them. So AfroSkills has a business incubator where you can come in as a coach to young Africans striving to meet up with, of course, the challenges